Greetings and welcome to Calm, Clear Conversations. I'm Christopher Johnson with Calm, Clear Communications. And with me today is Danielle R. Harris, the Danielle R. Harris. Greetings,
Yes.
Danielle.
Greetings. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Not too bad. I can't complain. It's sunny outside, so it's good.
And yes, here in Southeast Michigan, it is sunny and
Below freezing.
10 degrees?
I believe it is 19. So probably feels
Almost,
like three though. So
almost shorts weather.
almost.
Almost.
I actually like it when it's that cold because then it's less likely that it's cloudy, which means it's more likely to be bright and sunny. There's logic to it.
I like the logic. All right. So you are an entrepreneur.
I am.
You
Yes.
have been for a while.
Yeah, for a little bit. I started off going as a side hustler. I worked my 9 to 5 job in nonprofit construction, and on the side, I was working on building a marketing branding business. And not too recently, actually, what in August of 2021, I decided to go full time in this pursuit. So I've been doing this for a little bit, a lot of different things off and on for a few years, but decided to go full in on pursuing, building something of my own, which I felt that that was the right direction for me after some time going and doing things for other people. I was like, well, let me build something of my own for myself.
That is a big, bold step.
It is. It's I don't well, I never thought, at least in the past, that I took bold steps like that or did anything that was like risky. I was just like, oh, I just followed the path and the plan that was ahead. One step after another. This is what you're supposed to be doing, and to do something that wasn't on a pre-prescribed plan to me felt like, oh, that's a bold step. And like, okay, well, you got to save up some money, you're quitting a job, and now you got to figure out how you're going to pay for things, how you're going to market and position yourself. That was this whole other bold journey. But yeah, it was something bold and different, and I was just like, all right, well, I got to the point where I realized I think I'm ready to do that, just do something bold and new and different.
All right. So you mentioned what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
What was your path before you changed directions? Before
Mm.
you decided to, you know what? No, I am the person navigating this. I'm supposed to choose and set the direction and course and speed and all of that fun stuff.
Well, so going back to even college, I thought that the path was like, oh, I'll go to medical school, I'll be a doctor. And I was like, okay, well, that's very clear. You go to undergrad, you go to medical school, you go through the residency and fellowship and all those things. And then you're on this nice conveyor belt and you go through the process and you become a doctor. And then I realized that I didn't actually want to be a doctor, but I just liked medical dramas. So then I switched directions for that. And oh, wow, through that whole process, I was like, oh, I'll have like my own practice and uh, have, I'll take business classes to do that. Then I liked marketing, so I switched to that and film because, like I said, I like medical dramas, so I took some film classes. Uh, but then after that, I went through and I realized, okay, I like marketing. I'll get a job, and I started off doing social media marketing, and I did branding work. I did trade show marketing stuff, and I did a lot towards the end of working where I was at, doing international marketing strategy and opening up an office in a foreign country and creating relationships and stuff. So I thought that the path was supposed to be, you know, climb up a ladder, get promotions, eventually end up somewhere where I'm like a director or a CMO or something like that. And I wasn't seeing that type of progression necessarily happening. And then I was like, well, why? And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, what can I do? And then I was starting to look for jobs other places. And I was like, actually, I don't actually want to work for someone else. Like I've been doing this for about 10 years now. Like I actually think I want to try something on my own. And it was at the point where I was like, if I don't do it right now, then I'm never going to do it because I'm going to get so risk averse. Like, oh, I have to take care of this. I'll be responsible for that. At least that's how I felt at the time. Like, if I'm going to jump, like, I'm going to jump right now at this point in time. And I'll have time to recover or do whatever I need to do. But like I need to be bold and brave and do it right now. So that's what the path that I thought was going to be. But it got to a point where I was like, no, I think now's the time. Now's the time to jump and do it. If I'm not gonna do it now, then I'll probably never do it. And I didn't want to be in a position where I said like, oh, I could have or I should have. I just wanted to do it, and I didn't I wanted to say like, oh, I regret doing that, and as opposed to regret not doing it. But I highly doubt that I'm going to regret making this choice and this decision.
No, it's a big, bold step. And yeah, taking ownership and responsibility for it. Now, that's a mindset that I think needs to be adopted throughout one's life. So, hey, a early history of bold steps, or the sooner you can start that, the better, because it gives you a track record. Oh, I tried this. I mean, it's all about taking a lot of shots.
Yeah, and that's what I'm starting to realize. Like you just have to keep doing things. There was some quote that I was reading not too long ago, whereas if you don't take many shots, then every single thing has to be perfect. Whereas if you take a lot of shots, then you have a lot of time to experiment and try different things, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just keep going at it over and over again. And I kind of think about it like playing video games and you're trying to get to a certain level and like you keep dying, but like you know that the risks are like, but you will respawn, like you'll come back on the different thing, or like you have your little character and they like fall off it because you're trying to do some complicated jump thing. But like you keep going at it because you're just like, but I'll bounce back, I'll come back to it. And while the risks aren't necessarily that deep, but it's still a point of like I can keep trying something, I can keep posting something, I can keep launching something and trying to refine and get better and learn lessons to reapply because it's not failing if you're keep learning something, you're just reiterating new iterations each and every time.
Exactly. I hadn't heard the video game analogy before. I like that. I mean, no one looks at their character in a video game. Well, we're done with this game now. I just died. It's
No,
like,
like
oh, what did I learn? Okay, now I know how to make it to the next level. All right.
mhm. Every single time you just keep going at it every single time, like, okay, that didn't work, and then you're just like, oh yes, finally I got it, and you took that lesson, and then when you get to the next level you're like, oh, I learned how to do this in this past one. It just keeps building and building on top of itself.
So there's not failure, there's just lessons learned.
Yes. I mean, it feels like failure. It does. I'm not saying that it doesn't feel like it, but after you lick your wounds for a second, you just realize, okay, what did I learn? Because to say that it doesn't hurt or suck, I think would be a gross misrepresentation of how it feels in the midst of it. But once you collect yourself together, realizing that, okay, I just learned something.
Exactly. And, hey, I think a lot of people can identify with or adapt that video game analogy. I mean, I'm used to hearing that in sports. You look at, how many shot attempts this person made. It's like, oh, or you look at how many at bats and what their on base percentage is. Those are inherently failing options. I mean, the best baseball player bats 400. Okay, so that means 60% of the time he's not getting on base. Being adaptable, learning an analogy from a video game, I think is perfect. Now, how has starting a business during a global pandemic impacted the customer interactions? I mean, I'm guessing that you're doing less traveling for business.
Yeah, I used to do, when, I was, working my typical 9 to 5, I was traveling a lot, a lot, a lot. And it was funny, it comes from a very place of privilege, but it was like I haven't left the country since 2019, which if you know me, is like that's a big deal. Big deal. But yeah, so now I'm mostly traveling from, this spot right here to the kitchen, maybe to the post office or something like that. It's not traveling as, but it's a situation where I get to meet people from a lot of different places. I take a lot of calls at a wide variety of times to accommodate people in wildly different time zones and different places across the world. And I think even if it wasn't a pandemic, I think it still would have looked something like this. I think that it actually just helped everyone to adapt that this is a way, through Zoom or video chats or however, um, it's a way of communicating, and I think it made it more normalized. So for people that were already doing this, there are a lot of people that even before the pandemic were meeting people like this, but um, I think now that that's the case, I think it just normalized a new thing a bit faster than otherwise. I don't think things would have advanced as quickly if it were not for this. The pandemic has definitely taken a big hit on a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But for all of that, I think it also advanced some things and started some conversations that I think really needed to be said and really kickstarted all of that.
Now, what challenges does client engagement on a virtual platform pose? I mean, is it what's different? What's better?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people find that they just connect better with people in person, having conversations, and that's their bread and butter. And going online, like for whatever reasons, like that doesn't feel natural. It doesn't seem authentic, and they really want to look and feel and seem authentic when they meet with people, and they want to have like, oh, I ran into this person at this thing and had this offhand conversation about something, and it doesn't necessarily get recreated in the same sense when things are shifted online. But I think it just takes a different level of intentionality. Like I said, it's not the same, but I don't think it's supposed to be the same. It's just different in how you think about wanting to be intentional about starting conversations and being in rooms and curating rooms in a way that people can have some of those types of conversations. But I think it just takes a different level of thinking and intentionality behind how you want to connect and engage with people. Because you could still have gone to any other like mixer or thing in person and walked away and like, oh, I didn't really connect with people. But were you intentional about walking up to someone or engaging with them? It's the same type of problems, but I think it's just a different platform. So we think of it as this brand new, never been seen before problem, but really it's just a similar situation, a little bit different space.
It is a similar situation, a different space, and it's one of those civility and decorum still apply. You wouldn't go into a networking event and, not engage with people, or if it's a
I
true
mean,
networking
some
thing.
people would. They're like, oh, like I went to the thing, I sat down at the thing, I had the cookie and the punch, and I stood there, no one came up to me, and so I left. Like that's you can approach it that way. And so I think that um, you know, I think that people are looking for a little bit more hand holding, or I don't know. It can be difficult in multiple situations. If you're an introverted type person, I don't want to blame that. But if like I said, so am I. But I don't want to blame that. If just like sometimes you don't feel like it, then you probably just shouldn't have gone to that event in the first place.
True.
But if you're just like I think you just have to go in with a particular goal in mind when you're going about any of these things, whether it's virtual or in person, as far as connecting with people. Um, and if you don't have a good intention, not that it's a bad intention, but if you don't have like one that's like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to, three different people and at least listen to their story, not necessarily pitch myself, um, then that's a good way to go about things. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to this virtual event, and I'm going to engage in a conversation, or I'm going to in the chat, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to raise some good points, and um, connect with people if they share their handles or something, and connect on LinkedIn or on Instagram or wherever. Like that's a different type of strategy to try to take an approach, but it, like I said, it's more intentionality behind it.
I understand. One of the things I like about being virtual, uh, we're both 6'5" now.
I I used to be like in elementary school, so taking it way back, I used to be like the tallest person in my class. That's when I was 5'3". Um, Back in like elementary school, I am still 5'3", and obviously not the tallest person.
5'3". Okay. But, on a virtual platform, we're all
But
6'5".
my stature, my presence is just, it looms much larger.
Exactly. And you did mention LinkedIn, so I will share your LinkedIn URL because you do want people to reach out and connect with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love reaching out to people. I will preface this by also saying my preferred network is Instagram, but I absolutely am always on LinkedIn. I'm scrolling through, I look at my notifications. It's not maybe as often, but it's at least every once a day. But for Instagram, that might be like too many times a day. That'll
Okay.
be a different discussion for another time as far as how synced in you are. But yes, I'm definitely on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with people.
And they should make it a personal connection or a personalized note to make the connection. Hey, I saw you on this. When you said that, I wanted to learn more. Let's connect.
Yes, because I'll be honest, there will be times where someone will reach out and connect. I'm just like, do I know you? What is this? I don't understand. Why are we being connected? And I'm more likely to be like, I don't know if I want to connect. But if it's something genuine, like, oh yeah, like I saw you had something that seemed interesting. I like this post, or I liked your comment on this. I think we should connect. Way more likely to engage on that.
Absolutely. So being engaging, whatever the platform, whether in person or virtual or social media, being engaging is what advances the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Engaging. And I think it could be a lot of different things for different people. Some people like they're a consistent liker of things on posts, and bless those people. Like they're hoping to boost your things up in algorithms, if it's online, and if it's engaging with people, like, oh, like I text you on a regular basis to say, oh, thinking about you, or if you're at an events and you run in similar circles and always coming up to say hi, engaging in that way, like that's always beneficial and people feel good about that. And then, always, of course, those deeper of like leaving a comment or sharing the thing that you post about. Those people are always even more so appreciated of boosting your things out there, but engaging however that is, in person, virtually, but to whatever degree that is, it's always appreciated.
Okay. So who do you work with since you are now the boss?
Mm.
Who's your ideal client and how would I know this person to steer them in your direction?
So I typically work with people that consider themselves creatives. So this could be someone that's a writer. I work with people right now. She makes tumblers, so like those cup tumblers. She designs them specialty. I've worked with people that are writers. I work with people that are coaches, whether they're life coaches, business coaches, people that I would say are taking non-traditional paths to business and life. those are typically the people that I work with. And most of the time, these are people that don't necessarily have a business background, but they're very passionate about what it is that they do, and they're trying to work hard to make sure that they're sharing their gift with other people, but need a little additional help on how to market themselves and position themselves so they can attract the people that they're trying to attract. So those are the people that I tend to work closely with, just because I really like people that have like a deep passion for whatever it is that they're doing, and like to hone in on that passion so we can communicate that with the world.
So the people that have a deep passion, you help them market that so they
Yeah.
can take advantage of their deep passion
Mhm.
and focus on that while you take care of the letting everyone know about their deep passion.
Right. Yeah. Coming up with messaging, coming up with, first of all, I like to start off with understanding what's important and what's of value to them. So, coming up with their values, the reason why for getting into this in the beginning. So, coming up with and understanding their story and using that to then craft a message. So we're making sure that we're understanding who are the people that they're trying to attract. What do those people look like to them? What are their core problems? And using all of that information, your personal story, the story of the creation of your business and the problem that you're trying to solve, putting all of that together to create a plan that is going to work for you. Some things people think, okay, that's super complicated. I don't want to be on all of these different platforms. And that's not necessarily my approach. I think that, especially if you're starting off on your own, you really don't even have the capacity to do a whole bunch of different things across a whole bunch of different platforms. So just starting off very simply, what do you like to do? How do you like to present yourself? And then really capitalizing on that in a way that we can make a following and get people to really notice and understand what you do and how to work with you.
Okay. So what big plans do you have for 2022?
For 2022, really, I am planning for this year to work and help out with a lot of people. I have my books open for my one-on-one program that I call the Blueprint, where I go through the process that I just explained to you about how to go through and solidify your marketing plan, come up with your messaging, and come up with your brand story in a way that's going to really connect with other people. So I'll be doing a lot of that. Also, I'm going to be doing some speaking. So things like this, that's one of the things that's been big on my calendar for the past couple of months that I've been doing, and really just helping people and helping them grow, and seeing how all of this blossoms and uh, just grows over the next year or so. So I'm just excited. For the most part, I'm just looking to see where things go and happen. I have some plans laid out, but the biggest lesson that I've learned so far is being open to changes and new directions. Because when you take a bold step, some other bold things might happen, and you just have to say like, "Oh, that wasn't as initially on the plan, but I think I like this better." And going and exploring what exactly that looks like.
So a podcast or a book?
So I'm writing down lots of things for an eventual book. What that looks like, I have no idea. But a podcast, that might have been on my third quarter 2022 outlook. I have to look a little bit more into that. But yes, we'll see. We'll see how things develop and how things go.
Exciting. So one of the things I know about you is you are a voracious consumer of movies. I so one of the you did have a regular-ish sort of movie review post, which was really endearing and engaging and saved me some money. It's like, oh yeah, there's no point in seeing that. What are you watching these days?
So it's not so much movies these days. I think the last movie I saw was the new Matrix movie, which I just asked why. Like, I don't know why I needed that movie. Like, I can see them making another one after this, and maybe that would give me a why, but Anyway, but what I've been watching more so, like I said, I just want to move past that. Forget that I watched it. But I've been watching a lot of Korean dramas recently. And really, I think my whole thing that I've been telling people recently is that if you're, in the US and you're really only watching US TV shows, then I think you're really narrowing in and you're missing out on a lot of great content from a lot of different creators from around the world. And Netflix is really great for being able to explore a lot of different types of television. I think, especially with like Squid Games being one of the, what was it? It's the top streamed television show in like 93 different countries, a Korean show. Um, Now, there's a lot of great South African shows that are out, French shows like Lupin. I know that's very, very good. Should definitely go watch that. But yes, so you should definitely broaden your horizons outside of US American television.
I agree wholeheartedly. What about books or podcasts? What are you reading or listening to?
So right now I am going through the book The Artist's Way. So I thought it was just like a book that you read. No, it's an experience that you go through, and it is basically for people that are creatives, or even if you're a newish business owner, going through a process of reflection and going through things that might block you and trying to unblock your creativity or your thinking or things that might limit you. So, I don't know if people are familiar with the practice of morning pages. That practice came from this book, and the idea is that every morning, like the one of the very first things that you do, like get coffee, and then you write 3 pages in a notebook every single day. And at first, it's like that seems very intimidating to write out 3 full pages. Um, but it's really something that helps you to just like brain dump everything. What are the things that you're thinking about, and help you to focus and prioritize. And once you get everything on that paper, your head's clear and you have a better idea of what you need to do and focus on and prioritize for the day, and less likely to get distracted for other things. So it's not just a book, it's a whole practice and exercise with a lot of different prompts. And I think it's like 12 weeks or so of going through this every day, of things like taking yourself on a artist day, what they call themselves. So just like doing something freeing and creative. So just let your mind go into a way that's just like, okay, it's not about work. It's not about anything else. It's just about exploring something that you might have done as a child. So like it might be painting, it might be going to a museum, it might be one of the things that they suggest doing is going to the dollar store and pick up things that like your 7-year-old self would love getting. So if it was like stickers or like dinosaur toys or whatever it is, just like something that's nice and freeing and like satisfies your inner child. So that's what I'm reading and going through right now.
And that's The Artist's Way, A
Yes.
Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity by Julia Cameron.
Yes.
Wonderful. I want to make sure I got the title right because, well, the
Of
wrong title
course.
doesn't help.
Of course. Of course.
And any podcast?
Podcast. So besides the daily, which I go off and on, it's kind of a rotation of different things. It's not like one particular thing. There is this one that I'm listening to. Is the what is it? I want to get the title of this right. It is I believe it's called Black Banked and Booked Out podcast by DL Sharon. Yeah, Black Banked and Booked Out. And it's great for people that are newish into business and talking about sales strategies on a lot of different topics, whether it's talking about if you have a small audience, how you can still get sales that way, how to um, create engaging content with people. So I've been listening to that off and on for the past year or so, and it has a lot of great tidbits in there.
Okay. Black Bank and Booked Out as an online coach. Okay. Putting these things in the chat so that I and everyone else can keep track of these. So how about a signal boost? Is there something that hasn't been mentioned, but you really think deserves more attention than it's gotten?
Mm. You know what? Really, like I said, I just like really helping working out with people. But first, I just want to get to know people. So if you want to connect with me, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram, feel free to connect with me there. I'd love to get to know you guys better and love for you guys to get to know me a little bit more.
That sounds wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time. It has been a wonderful conversation, as I knew it would.
Yeah, it's been fun. I love doing this, and you're always a great, very professional, very engaging host of these things. So thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.